May 19th, 1983. A quiet night in Springfield, Oregon. The emergency room doors suddenly burst open. A young mother runs inside screaming for help. Her clothes are soaked in blood. Doctors and nurses rush toward the parking lot, and what they see in the back seat of her car freezes everyone. 3 small children lie motionless. One of them already dead, another barely breathing. The third is struggling to stay conscious. She says a stranger on the road tried to steal her car. When she refused, he shot her children. But as police begin investigating the crime, something feels wrong, very wrong, because the evidence would soon reveal a disturbing possibility. This is the disturbing and chilling story of Diane Downs. Diane Downs was born in 1955 in Phoenix, Arizona. To the outside world, she seemed like an ordinary American girl. She grew up in a typical middle-class family. Friends described her as friendly, energetic, and talkative. But people who knew her more closely noticed something else. Diane loved attention. She enjoyed being the center of every room. And when she didn't get attention, she sometimes created drama to get it. As she grew older, Diane married a man named Steve Downs. The couple eventually had 3 children, Christy, Cheryl, and Danny. At first, life seemed stable, but behind the scenes, the marriage was falling apart. Friends described constant arguments, jealousy, infidelity. Eventually, the couple divorced. Diane was now a single mother of 3, but according to people who knew her, motherhood never seemed to be her priority. Diane often spoke about wanting freedom and excitement. She wanted adventure, romance, and a different life. That desire would soon destroy her entire life. After her divorce, Diane moved to Oregon. She got a job working for the United States Postal Service. At work, she met a man named Robert Nick Knickerbocker. Nick was married, but Diane quickly became obsessed with him. Co-workers later said she talked about him constantly. She believed they were meant to be together. But there was a problem. Nick had made one thing very clear. He did not want children in his life. To him, Diane's 3 kids were a deal breaker. For most people, that would be the end of the story. But not for Diane. Investigators would later say her obsession grew deeper and deeper. She was determined to build a life with Nick. On the night of May 19th, 1983, Diane put her children in the car. They began driving along a quiet rural road outside Springfield. The road was dark, isolated, and empty. According to Diane's later story, she stopped the car to admire the scenery. That's when she claimed a stranger approached the vehicle. He supposedly demanded the car. When Diane refused, the man pulled out a gun and began shooting. First one child, then another, then another. After the attack, Diane said the man ran into the darkness. She then drove her bleeding children to the hospital. Police examined the road where Diane said the shooting happened. They searched for footprints, tire tracks, any evidence of another person. But they found nothing. No witnesses, no struggle, no signs that anyone else had been there. Then investigators began analyzing the shooting itself. All the bullets had been fired from inside the car. That alone was suspicious. But something even stranger stood out: Diane's behavior. Hospital staff noticed that she didn't act like a grieving mother. instead of crying uncontrollably. Some nurses said she appeared calm and relaxed. At times, she even seemed flirtatious with male staff. Meanwhile, her children were fighting for their lives. But the most important piece of evidence had not yet emerged, because one child was still alive, and she remembered everything. Eight-year-old Christy Downs had been shot in the shoulder. For days, she was unable to speak. Doctors weren't even sure if she would survive. But slowly, Christy began recovering. Detectives carefully waited until she was strong enough to talk. When the moment finally came, they asked her a simple question. "Do you remember what happened?" Christy nodded. Then they asked, "Do you remember who shot you?" The little girl gave an answer that shocked the entire room. She said, "My mom did it." According to Christy, there was no stranger, no carjacker, no attacker in the night. Instead, her mother had stopped the car, turned around, and shot her children one by one. Then Diane shot herself in the arm to make it look like she was a victim too. The investigation had just taken a terrifying turn. The case went to trial in 1984. Prosecutors presented a disturbing theory. They believed Diane Downs had shot her children because she believed they were the reason Nick didn't want her. In her mind, removing the children meant removing the obstacle. The courtroom heard testimony from doctors, investigators, and witnesses. But the most powerful moment came when Christy took the stand. The courtroom fell silent as the young girl described the night. She calmly explained how her mother turned around in the driver's seat and began firing. The jury watched Diane carefully during the testimony, and many observers noticed something chilling. Diane appeared emotionless, almost bored. After weeks of testimony, the jury reached a verdict. The jury found Diane Downs guilty of murder, attempted murder, and criminal assault. She was sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years, but even prison walls couldn't stop her completely. In 1987, Diane escaped from prison. She climbed over a fence and disappeared into the night. For 10 days, she was on the run, until police finally captured her again. She remains in prison to this day. The surviving children were later adopted by the lead prosecutor in the case. They were given new names and a new life far away from the tragedy. But the emotional scars would never fully disappear. The Diane Downs case shocked the entire United States because it forced people to face a terrifying truth. Sometimes, the person who is supposed to protect a child the most can also be the one who harms them. Even decades later, the case still raises disturbing questions. What kind of person could harm their own children? Was Diane driven by obsession, by selfishness, or by something far darker? Whatever the answer may be, the story of Diane Downs remains one of the most chilling true crime cases in American history.
I stopped and got out and asked him what was the problem. And he said, "I want your car." And I said, "You gotta be kidding." I mean, how many people really do that in real life? They don't. I just kept saying, "God, do what's best. You know, if they gotta die, let them die, but don't let them suffer."